It's been 4 years since the drop of this teaser, 4 years since the flood of these comments, 4 thought-provoking years since the initial hype that caused claims around the community that there was another competitor on the horizon to finally take down The Sims. A competitor that promised object resizing, split levels, curved walls, and creative freedom to customize your dream home inside of the up-and-coming cozy life sim called Paralives. These said claims made by the community put an expectation on the indie game to do what The Sims 4 couldn't. This expectation would later prove to be harmful. What a lot of us didn't understand back then is that looking to Paralives as another option rather than an alternative would have done the team and Paralives some good. Still, I get why. Remember, a lot of us had been losing hope for some time, and it was easy to project our wants onto something else. The expectation of Paralives and its consequences is another video entirely, so I'll save this topic for later. What I want to bring to your attention is hope, the spark that will grow and transform through the long and still ongoing development history of Paralives. June 30th was a day that life simulation experienced a shift. It only took 15 seconds of window resizing to spark such contrasting discourse across platforms. Many were excited, ready for something new. Others were firmly against the new life sim for reasons that were the result of unswaying loyalty to The Sims 4 or being burned in the past from fake Sims competitors. During this time, I found myself somewhere in the middle, leaning towards the more skeptical side. Everything we had seen and learned of looked amazing, but it was a little difficult to trust something we barely knew anything about. Despite the community having many opposing opinions, we all experienced the same. This was the first we had ever heard of Paralives. Yet this was not the beginning. Turns out back in January, Alex Massey, the creator of Paralives, quit his full-time job to start working on the game. From January till June, Alex focused primarily on build mode. It wasn't until October Leah was added to the team as a 3D artist. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact everything we've seen up until the month of October was done as a solo project. That's impressive when you consider after the first teaser, there was a huge jump in quality for the world and objects. I don't remember if we ever seen another look at Paralives with the same aesthetic. It reminded me a lot of the art style you see in Untitled Goose Game released in September 2019. Throughout this year, we only got a look at build mode features like free placement and lot editing. The team of two made it a point to stay active on their socials to answer any questions and most importantly, listen to the community. The team did an amazing job to let the community know they had plans to develop Paralives with the players' wants in mind. By this time, I was a little worried with this open approach of sharing and taking ideas from fans would put a lot of pressure on the team that could lead to some really unfortunate outcomes. Yet to this day, the team has done great with staying realistic with fan requests. They've done an amazing job with communicating what is and is not realistic for Paralives, but also making it very clear they were very early in development. 2019 was only the start and it would take years to see a finished game. 2020 was the year of the Para. Starting in January, the team went to work and began creating the visual design of their characters. Through the first quarter of the year, we were given small crumbs and hints relating to the character's existence by showing off the accessory and hair recoloring tool. The biggest question circling the community was, what did the characters look like? The team, who were normally very forthcoming with information, decided to be a little more cryptic when discussing the reveal of the characters. The question and hype surrounding the mystery reached its peak in April when the absolutely stunning build named Maggie's Loft was showcased to share the progress they have made in build mode. It was pretty clever how the team chose to include a small glimpse of a character's shadow to tease the eventual reveal. It seemed to symbolize their shift in focus to other aspects of the game. After an entire month, we finally got the reveal of the first townie, Maggie Vaughn. I'm not too sure if this has been made public. I remember voting on their Patreon to choose what the characters will be called. What I voted for wasn't the final choice, but referring to them as Parafolk just makes sense today. In the official Parafolk reveal, we were shown an early version of what Paramaker was supposed to be. It's crazy to think then they had plans for the player to be able to enter Paramaker within live mode. Just click on a dresser and begin editing your para then and there. You could push and pull to mold their bodies. We had a first look at the height slider and a more in-depth look at hair recoloring. Now with the biggest question answered, we have more, along with plenty of critiques. For example, the height of the para seemed to be changed by scaling their overall size instead of adjusting their length. The community also noticed the slight change to the art style, as there was now a faint outline around the objects to match the style of the Parafolk. A lot of mixed feelings on the change and surrounding the paras themselves, yet most people online decided to give the team grace to improve, as we've been well informed the game was still in early development. The second half of 2020, we were given more of a blend of info surrounding the world and the Parafolk. A gorgeous look at the day and night cycle, then just 2 months later, we saw our first look at Sebastian, the first male para. This teaser was used to showcase new features like removing shoes, sliding bookcases, and a fan favorite, body hair. We were fed full of Paralives content despite the team having switched to work from home. Still, everything revealed was nothing compared to what the team had brewing behind the scenes. Modding became a topic of discussion and was made clear that there would be mod support from the start when the game is officially released. No confirmation that script mods will be supported, but I know the team has seen the demand and what script mods have done for other franchises. I think if it's possible for them to do, they'll eventually work on it. 2020 was a good year for Paralives. It gave fans a nice distraction from the feeling of overall despair that took place. It was a good year for the most part if you don't count the one and only incident of Paralives drama. Now, the issue with Roxanne leaving, well, really, she was fired. Back then, I felt that both sides, being the Paralives team and Roxanne, could have handled this a lot better than what actually went down. This is a business with different people working together. Not everyone is going to mesh well. Drama goes down in the office, it'll go down here too. What should have been different is keeping those issues quiet between people involved. Roxanne's outburst on Twitter didn't really have the effect she thought it would, and now just put a small stain on the timeline. In the end, I'm glad they parted ways. It seemed to turn out to be the best for both parties. Let's just hope the team can learn from the entire situation and never let that happen again. A lot of big things were revealed the year prior. More people know about Paralives, and the support is really starting to kick off at this point. The team was pretty quiet with new information to focus on adding to and cleaning up build mode and the Para's visual design. We also got our first community brainstorming session where fans of the game could come together and discuss future or current features. Again, another step in bringing in the community involvement. I swear, even in their slowest seasons, they keep their ears and eyes open to fan suggestions. The brainstorming event can feel like a free ball idea session, but more often than not, you'll get the occasional really cool idea that can only come from the players of Life Simulation. This is pretty much how January through June felt to those keeping up with the development. We were introduced to our first slow season of Paralives, yet it was all for good reason, quite the opposite of the ones who were nervous. The momentum slowing would result in the failure of the franchise. For starters, May held a pretty big milestone for the team with the addition of Andre, the music composer and sound designer, and Camille, a producer. Paralives Studios now finally had a group of 10 people. I remember this being a huge goal of theirs for a long while. Based on their Patreon, it seems as they made plans for 10 developers to be enough to start making the game in a speed they were comfortable with. Alongside this turning point, their most successful promotion for Paralives would be uploaded to YouTube mid-June. Gaining over 1 million views, a full 11-minute speed build caught everyone's attention. Even a couple of the larger creators took a moment to talk about the absolute satisfaction of seeing the features implemented that we have been asking to have for over a decade. It's crazy watching this back today, knowing that these features are now seen as the norm, even though we have yet to have a game with this much creative freedom. I would consider this the first high point for Paralives in 2021. On another point, one of my favorite things about the development timeline is that they made the choice to add emojis next to every detail to give you an idea of what was done. Notice all the hammer and wrench icons? They put in quite a lot of work into building out the game. Next time you feel the momentum is slowing down, take a look at how many of these details are being worked on behind the scenes. A lot of this the player doesn't really think about but just expects to be present. That's until they showcase these smaller but impactful features, and that's when you realize how talented the team is. Heterochromia is not something I would ever think to ask for, but knowing it will be present makes patience less bearable. Yet we stand the wait when we hear of new outfit and body presets, integrated hair and dress physics, and finally children. They created the first child parafolk, Eli. Marvin was next to be welcomed into the Paralives universe. This was all revealed in the second highest point, or for me personally, the peak of 2021. Paramaker Overview was such a contrast to the original Paramaker from 2020. Now there's so much packed into the less than 5-minute video, so much it baffles me that this is their version of pre-alpha. But still, I'll start with what stuck out to me the most. One, Paramaker now seems to be its own mode instead of editing your character within the world. Second, the push and pull system was gone, replaced by a really interesting take on sliders. Turns out EA has a patent on the push and pull mechanic, which caused a lot of us to have the same "wait, really?" moment. Huge props to the team for figuring out a way to keep the level of customization, but with their own twist. Bringing the conversation back to Marvin, I always get a little nervous when it comes to the skin tones and if the deeper tones will match the brighter in quality. And of course, they pulled that off, making Marvin feel just as alive and rich as the other parafolk. The way the clothes are categorized allows for tremendous possibilities and most importantly room for expansion, which never fails to come up later down the line. Many improvements were made to applying tattoos and the placement of skin details. The positives were overwhelming, yet there were some things I noticed that needed a little tweaking, specifically the design of the parafolk. The blushing could sometimes seem a little intense, though it was confirmed that this will be a detail that can be adjusted. Then there's the topic of the harsh lines on the bodies of the para. It's fascinating to see the difference between then and today. I just hope they stick to their vision. Still, this was a great way to finish the year of 2021. Now with a deeper look into build mode and the improved Paramaker, hype for what could be possible in live mode was starting to build. We have now reached a stage where there can be an alpha version of both Paramaker and build mode. The bricks have been laid and the foundations are now set. This is where I can see the team work to build and expand on these modes of the game. Behind the curtain, the textures of the parafolk were getting a well-deserved polish. Something refreshing I noticed was the research to create more customization of different ethnicities. Personally, I'm dying to see what they've designed for curly hair textures. It seems like a continuous progression on the paras, really the face of the art style for the game. So it would only make sense in year 4 they decide to let the community in on their art direction. With a now public Patreon post, it makes sense to have a source the community can read to understand the why behind a conversation that has continued throughout the years. Speaking of art directions, it looks like during this time the first versions of baby and toddler characters were born. Even elders were given some TLC. They revealed upgraded versions later, but let me just say, if elders can be this detailed, I might have to put more of a spotlight on this life stage stage when we finally get our hands on the game. Another detail that deserves more spotlight is the clothing layering mechanic. Around the time when this feature was nothing more than an idea being thrown around, I didn't have faith this could be pulled off. Well, this wouldn't be the first time the team proved me wrong beyond my expectations. One of the first times they did this was with the hide slider when Maggie was made public. I love how the team really listens to constructive feedback and allows it to strengthen the game. This is 10 times better, and I would be more than okay if this was the final version. Lots of new upgrades to Paramaker, not too many updates were given to build mode. There were a few new objects and maybe some polishing of build features. This could be because the developers have reached the stage, starting in 2021 and continuing to 2022, where live mode was experiencing some of the groundwork being laid out. Development for animations had already been underway in 2021, but this year will be one of the first we'd see their progress showcased to the public. Starting off in February, Paralives posted a clip of a skeleton model performing the Marvin spin animation. A nice condensed version of the stages of animations go through to reach the final version. Not only do these clips give the community a deeper look into the creation of animations, but they also allow for the charming personality that caught everyone's attention to shine through. Sometime in May, we were gifted with a showcase of how emotion would look and feel. The balance between engaging and realism is so subtle, but works so well. Far from over-exaggerated, but still filled with such life, I really hope they continue with this balance through every aspect of the game. This really suits my personal taste. Privately, work on the town was receiving some updates. The environment and vegetation had some work done, and one feature that I don't think about but glad it saw some attention was town map functionality. We can select and create households from this mode. A lot was being done on the back end, but even more was planned to be revealed. August saw the first in a series of live mode sneak peeks, all small but impactful features when done right, and done right they all were. Gone were the days of canceling half of your morning routine because you forgot one task. Instead, we can just pick up an action and switch around the entire order. Yes, please do more of making the easy parts easy and saving the hard for the gameplay. The second teaser involved a vote on what could be the Paralives sensor effect. Some like the classic pixel blur, others had the idea of there being an option to choose between them. I'm really a fan of the white sketch box. It seems to fit the theme of the game, and to avoid bloating the settings menu and have every feature be an option, it's better to go with one choice. Continuing the trend of the easy made easier, the interactions menu had so much more than what I would expect. Have a favorite action, pin the task so it shows up immediately. Don't feel like digging through the menu, then just use the search feature of the interaction menu. We are aware of how deep the interactions menu can go as the game ages. The search function is going to become so overused after putting in hundreds of hours. This was such a needed option. Remember when I mentioned work was being done to the environment and world vegetation? Well, this is where we see the upgrades in the last sneak peek of 2022 called Maggie's Summer. Really simple interactions, yet it was nice to see and a reminder of how good this game looks even in its unfinished state. It feels like so much, still so little of live mode was revealed. These teasers have me beyond excited to see the long-awaited gameplay we've been brainstorming for so long. "2023 was the most recent year of Paralives development. Looking back on the updates, some feel like they were years ago, and I swear some were released yesterday. By the time this is posted, we'll be a month into 2024, so I thought instead of going into detail, why not remember some of my personal highlights of Paralives in 2023. The year started off right with releasing this gem. The Cozy House Showcase gets me so pumped for the vibes I'm so ready to soak up. It's the way the graphics have come so far, and they're just continuing to get better. This is going to be such a beautiful game. Also, quick appreciation for some honorable mentions. When I say I can listen to a conversation between two parafolks for hours, I really do think I can fall asleep to this.
Kite. Eveketi. Chilapika.
Stikimi.
Pikala.
Puki.
Milo.
Kiku.
Kigi.
Amakapi.
I didn't learn until recently not everyone was a fan. I can understand the critiques behind the phrasing sounding clipped or like one or two words are being said. Even with that, I still thoroughly enjoyed this update, and it is a work in progress. Let's pause again for some more honorable mentions. Let's talk about one of the more peculiar updates of 2023. In November, I posted a video discussing the Paralives art style specifically around the parafolk. In short, my verdict was I hope they stuck to their art decisions as they put great thought behind it. I love a good, unique concept, and it was definitely the most unique I've seen recently. Come to find out in December, the team actually posted some updates sharing how they took the community's feedback into consideration and toned down the harsh lines on the parafolk. Honestly, I'm not mad at it. They still look really good to me. I remember seeing some comments on the side that this wasn't a good decision. Seeing that made me think they really can't win. Then again, these comments were far and few between compared to the majority who were happy with the change. For me, I'm just as happy with the art style as I was before. My only fear was they would stray away from the art concept of Paralives being handcrafted. The environment and objects were painted from watercolor and the parafolk being drawn in to stand out. Luckily, the aesthetic is still very much present after the subtle change. I'm happy, and I hope the ones who made the request are now too. And we can now finish off 2023 with more honorable mentionables that I didn't mention. 5 whole years have gone by. They felt as if they took forever, but really so much has happened since we learned of Paralives. The main question has shifted from is this game even real to now when's the release date? Based on recent statements, this might be coming a lot sooner than a lot of us expected. I'm manifesting for a 2025-2026 timeframe. However, it will be understandable if that was too soon. I just hope they take the time to pull all their passion into the project, and it doesn't look like it's failed them so far. Small message to my future self, I really hope you're enjoying Paralives. I'm betting all my chips on good things will come to those who wait, and I really need this to be a good thing. Speaking of myself, would you believe me if I said this video took a little over 2 months to complete? Not because this was hard, it's just you don't realize how much information is actually out on Paralives, so it can be a little overwhelming to prioritize certain highlights because everything seems important in some way. If I missed anything substantial, the comments are open and would love to know moments a lot of people don't think about that is a noteworthy part of the development of Paralives. Not to say me going MIA is uncommon, but I was dealing with some stressful situations during that time, so that played a factor. Nothing terrible, but thankfully those things have ended and I have a lot more mental space and energy to pour into this channel. So expect to hear more from me about Paralives and really awesome things that are on the horizon.